لکه ستا دا مطلب دی چې تا له دیکه درکړه او ته داسې روغ غورځېدې. لکه ستا دا مطلب دی چې تا له دیکه درکړه او ته داسې روغ غورځېدې.
But today we're going to focus on the ending of verbs. You'll remember that in Pashto the verb comes almost always towards the end of the sentence. And one of the most tricky things to figure out is what is the ending of the verb. In this case, it's the difference between an A and an E. But before we look at that, let's just look at this extremely useful phrase right at the beginning.
لکه ستا دا مطلب دی لکه ستا دا مطلب دی.
You can use this phrase two ways. Kind of a standard way would be sta matlab da de, your meaning is this. Or he's put it here for emphasis because he's kind of showing that he's doubting it, but he shifted it forward. Sta da matlab de. And it's added with a couple of little conjunctions that make it helpful. Lika, so sta da matlab de. Che, that. The little che comes before every time when he says one of the two verb sentences we're going to use. And then very quickly in machine gun fire speed, he says two sentences. And the nice thing about this is the first sentence is transitive and the second intransitive, and they work in completely different ways in the past tense. So in the first one,
لکه ستا دا مطلب دی چې تا له دیکه درکړه تا له دیکه درکړه تا له دیکه درکړه.
remember that the king of the sentence in a transitive verb is the object, and the object here is what is given. Tala dika darakra. Tala, to you. The subject of the sentence is the ruffian, the bad guy who pushed him. Tala ye. So what's the ye? Ye is a mini pronoun that's been inflected because it should be hara, he, but it's the servant, and servant is always inflected, so the subject, the servant, is inflected. Tala ye dika, the object, which is the king. So now the push, the dika, becomes in charge of the sentence and determines the verb ending, darkra, with an A at the end, darkra. Sometimes in Pashto that the retroflex R is dropped out in everyday speech. Formally it's there and sometimes it's left, so it could be darkra, ya darkra. Either one is correct. The last sentence that he says, you fell down like this. Te dasi raugorzede. Te is the king, you. It's not inflected. If it was transitive, this would have been inflected to ta, but here it doesn't change. It's the king, ta-da, and it runs a sentence. Raugorzede, a. So it ends in an E sound. So the difference between these two is simply who is running the sentence. Transitive, dika, runs the sentence. It's the object, it's the king. The sentence ends with an A. And in the intransitive, the king is te, you, the subject is the sentence. It changes the ending to an E. Isn't Pashto so simple?
لکه ستا دا مطلب دی چې تا له دیکه درکړه او ته داسې روغ غورځېدې.
So it's time to get practical, and one super way to do it is using the amazing online dictionary. Any verb that you're interested in has all the tenses and all the verb endings. So for example, it's intransitive, so it's driven by the subject. There's a nice little icon above the verb collection there that shows you it's driven, the king is the subject.
زه وغورځېدم تاسو وغورځېدئ هغه وغورځېدو.
Now try this one. You fell down.
تاسو راوغورځېدئ.
He fell off the horse.
هغه د اس نه وغورځېدو.
He fell off the chair.
هغه د کرسۍ نه وغورځېدو.
He fell off from speaking literally. In other words, can't talk.
هغه د خبرو نه وغورځېدو.
Oh my, just when we thought we'd got it fixed, there's another complexity in Pashto, and that is that verbs very often have two forms, a long form which is formal and a short form which is more common in everyday use. Some people use the long form, it's more of a habit, and some areas of KP seem to use it more frequently, especially I think in Sawat and also further south. So it's very different. Different people use it differently, but the dictionary also has the long form as well as the short form. So the long form changes from ugorzidam to ugorzidalam, ugorzide to ugorzidale. Try these ones. You plural in the long form, you plural fell out of the car.
تاسو د موټر نه وغورځېدلې.
You singular fell out of the room.
ته د کوټې نه وغورځېدلې.
You singular fell off your position. In other words, idiomatic, you got fired.
ته د خپل مقام نه وغورځېدلې.
And the final twist in the tale is that Pashtuns love to shorten their sentences. Often in everyday speech they're fast. They reduce everything down to the minimum. The only thing you need to know for these verbs is what the ending is. So in fact the subject itself becomes irrelevant, but you have to listen carefully to the verb ending to know who did what to who or whatever happened in past tenses. So for example, the very short form of you fell out of the room. How can you say that without the subject?
د کوټې نه وغورځېدلې.